In my last video, I showed how shooting in D-Log-M on the Osmo Pocket 3 can introduce a nasty ghosting issue in motion shots, something I only noticed after carefully reviewing my biking clips. A few viewers left comments suggesting that noise reduction might be causing the ghosting and recommended turning it off. While the Osmo Pocket 3 doesn't allow noise reduction to be turned off completely, you can at least reduce it to a value of -2, which will reduce the amount of noise reduction being applied compared to the default value of 0. So following this tip, I went out to shoot another round of biking footage, this time with noise reduction set to the minimum level of -2. You can easily do this yourself in the Pro Mode settings by selecting Image Adjustment and then changing the noise reduction parameter. Lo and behold, the ghosting issue was almost completely resolved. No more strange smearing or ghosting artifacts affecting the finer details like road textures or leaves. So a huge thank you to everyone in the comments who suggested this fix. Moving forward, I'll definitely be keeping the noise reduction set at its minimum of -2. While the default noise reduction setting may work well for those who prefer quick results straight out of the camera, I often shoot motion heavy footage where the noise reduction can really mess things up. I'd much rather control noise reduction myself in post, applying it only when I feel like it's absolutely necessary. So with this fix, my previous guess that the ghosting issue was related to some kind of bitrate limitation due to D-Log-M's extra color data was clearly wrong. The real question now is, why does noise reduction introduce ghosting specifically when shooting in D-Log-M? After going back to the drawing board, my first thought was that the flatter D-Log-M image might be more prone to smearing or ghosting artifacts when the camera applies noise reduction. However, the fact that this issue doesn't happen on the Osmo Action 5 Pro and that 30 FPS footage seems less affected pointed to something else entirely. And after reading another insightful comment somebody left on my previous video, I think I have a more likely explanation as to what's behind the problem. The comment pointed out that the new 40mm mode, recently added in the latest firmware, is unavailable when shooting in D-Log-M. This could suggest that recording in D-Log-M is more processor intensive than shooting in the standard color profile. Since the 40mm mode likely requires extra processing power for image upscaling, DJI may have disabled in D-Log-M to avoid overloading the system. If D-Log-M already requires extra processing power, adding another resource-heavy function like noise reduction could easily lead to performance issues. This would explain why the Osmo Pocket 3 struggles to maintain high-quality noise reduction in D-Log-M, resulting in ghosting artifacts. And as mentioned before, the ghosting problem is significantly worse at 60 FPS compared to 30 FPS, which further supports the idea that processing load plays a major role in this issue. To illustrate how processing power allocated to temporal noise reduction can directly impact image quality, here's a quick comparison I did in DaVinci Resolve. First, here I'm applying temporal noise reduction without motion estimation. Notice how the footage shows noticeable smearing that is very similar to what I experienced with my Pocket 3 footage using the default noise reduction setting in D-Log-M. Now I will turn on the motion estimation setting, which helps the algorithm better distinguish actual moving details like the road's texture from noise. Notice how with the motion estimation setting enabled, I no longer see the same level of smearing or ghosting, although all of this does come at the cost of the need for more processing power. So while I can't tell you exactly what's going on, the Pocket 3 being unable to perform the same quality of noise reduction in D-Log-M due to processing constraints does seem plausible. To further test this hypothesis, I decided to run a similar experiment with my DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. Unlike the Osmo Pocket 3, I never noticed ghosting issues at 30 or 60 FPS in D-Log-M on the Osmo Action 5 Pro, even with the default noise reduction settings. My assumption was that the Action 5 Pro's more efficient 4nm chip provided enough extra processing power to handle noise reduction without introducing artifacts. But what would happen if I pushed it to 120 FPS, playing even greater demand on its processor? Well, at 120 FPS in D-Log-M, the Osmo Action 5 Pro footage also showed the same kind of image degradation, with the same smearing and ghosting artifacts I saw on my Osmo Pocket 3. This strongly supports the theory that processor load significantly impacts how effectively noise reduction is applied. The key takeaway to all of this is that if you're filming motion intensive footage in D-Log-M, especially at 60 FPS, I highly recommend reducing noise reduction to -2. Additionally, after reviewing even more footage, I noticed that even in normal mode, slight ghosting in motion heavy scenes can occasionally appear at 60 FPS, so lowering the noise reduction setting might still be beneficial for those of you shooting in normal, though it is far less noticeable than in D-Log-M.